I was asked to talk about what I do for a living as well as why we moved to Enderlin. So, I don't know how riveting that is, I don't know. But well, what I do for a living and how I'm able to work in Enderlin and work for a company in Nevada is I'm a computer programmer. So I work for basically like a little Amazon.com type company. They do third-party fulfillment for catalog orders. And so we do database programming, internet programming, just the standard applications that through a GUI, graphical user interface, the little buttons that you click and the logic behind the buttons, that sort of thing. So the companies, right now, I'm an independent consultant, but I contract with different companies. And the software, the Microsoft Windows environments keep improving, and it's just getting easier and easier to work from wherever you want. If your company will go for it, obviously, as a consultant, they're more open to that. So, I was wondering, well, I've got a family to feed, obviously, and if my salary is the same, I started looking around for what I consider to be, this is the why ending part, started looking around for what I consider to be, a lot of value for the money, and I did a pretty thorough search. We looked at Texas, we looked at, we had relatives in Texas. Sonia's from Minnesota, so her family's from back there. So we looked in Minnesota, and Minnesota was pretty reasonable maybe 5 years ago, and then it shot up quite a bit house price-wise. And so I was really looking for, my salary was fixed regardless. I wanted a low monthly outgo. And so I started researching all the things that people look for in a place to live, a school system, house price is a big variable, fun things to do in the area, all that sort of stuff. And when I dug into it, I have to say that North Dakota in general is the screaming deal in the United States. That when you combine, for instance, school scores, where we were before in Nevada, the average, they have a website called Great School where you can do apples to apples comparisons of elementary schools. And the school, no child left behind test score, average percentile in Nevada was about 52, which is slightly above average but not stellar. In Enderlin, it's 86. So, and we've noticed that again and again about this area. Just the average person, when you're here, you probably are unaware of it. If you've lived here all your life, I'm sure you're somewhat aware of it, but people are sharp here, generally speaking. So that's a big positive. Then house price-wise, we lived in the western United States, and the median house is $240,000. That's the median house. And so, we were on a trip looking, I read about North Dakota and what a deal it was, and we were passing back through and we looked in Fargo and we saw a place that had no shrubbery and it was still $300,000, and we thought, oh man, there's the myth is exposed. It's not such a great thing. Then we went to, what was it, Kindred, and it was still, we saw a house that was just okay for $150. And then we were coming along here, and just a little bit farther, but still within reach of Fargo, and we wanted to be near a big town and all that. And so, called a realtor, and I was thinking, I saw a house, a nice little house, and I thought, if that thing is 60, I'm buying it. And we called the realtor, and she says, it's 15. And so I'm thinking, I suddenly have all this, thoughts of freedom going through my head. $2,000, when you've got a family to feed, $2,000 a month is meaningful, in a mortgage. And, I have a friend who has a house that is the identical square footage to my house here in Enderlin. And he's in Oakland, so it's much worse price-wise. But his house is worth $800,000, and it was the same era, same construction, identical practically. If I had to say whose is nicer, maybe his is a tiny bit nicer, but not much. And so, so all these things, it's just sort of, then we started digging in, crime is obviously a variable. This place is one of the safest parts of the country. The people, I was familiar with the whole concept of Minnesota nice, they're just kind of a nice upper Midwestern people. They just seem to have the work ethic and just they're kind and humble and all this stuff. So North Dakota has that same tendency with maybe even a little bit more self-reliance and less liberal politics. I mean, maybe, I don't know, I'm sure it varies from person to person, but anyway, so the people, everything was just kind of lining up when we did our research, and so I would say that this area is truly one of the most amazing deals. Now, then that got the wheels spinning, like, why is it such a good deal? Is this house a Superfund site, or was somebody slaughtered there? What's why is it such a deal? And I started looking around, and it turned out that was, that wasn't the norm, but generally it was a real bargain. And I originally went to school for geology, and so I'm really kind of familiar with why it's such a good deal here. These commodity super cycles, they tend to go in 20, 30-year cycles, and commodities, North Dakota had a lot of stuff working against it for the past 30 years as far as commodities and ag commodities and all this stuff. Geology, when I got out of school, there were no mining jobs, no oil jobs, nothing. And so these things all kind of move in unison. Now it's back to booming, and I kind of thought when I was looking for houses and things, I thought this thing probably is going to come roaring back, and typically does. It's just such a big cycle that people don't remember. And so that was one of the things where I kind of thought that Enderlin could do very well between agriculture and, if there's an energy crisis, Enderlin is, North Dakota in general, between their coal reserves that they have, a little bit of oil, they have more potential for wind energy than anywhere in the country. Ethanol. This place is just blessed. So, nice people, lots of potential for growth, about as unloved price-wise as any place could ever be, with nowhere to go but up. And now it's kind of where we moved from has gone down quite a bit. And I saw in the news that this place is one of the 2 states that's appreciating in price still. There was nowhere for it to go. It was so inexpensive. So, I guess that's sort of the rationale for moving here. And again, we've been incredibly pleasantly surprised. And the one obvious downer that everybody immediately thinks of when they say North Dakota is the weather, and even that has not been a bad thing for us. We've kind of liked it. You have to think ahead when you're traveling, and you have to, it keeps you on your toes, and it's kind of, it's an actual threat. I think you need to be a little bit more with it, and encourages planning. And, I could go on and on. Does anybody have any questions about my job? That's really why we moved and how we ended up here, and so far so good.